If you are a young, ambitious man, your ticket into the boardroom, getting that invite to the dinner party, talking to that high ticket client, is gonna be luxury talk.
Luxury talk.
Luxury. What else do you have? Are you gonna? It's gonna take you at least 5 years to get good at whatever you're doing. So that's not
to become an
work.
expert.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's there's just not much you can do, other than just talk to the person about stuff that they know about but might not know a lot about, and then kind of educate them a bit, but in a non salacious way. So for instance, watches is a great start because every successful man is pressured into appreciating watches, but almost all of them know nothing about watches. They just know Rolex.
Audemars.
Like if I ask you what is the holy trinity of watches? There's a holy trinity of watches. What three brands make the holy trinity?
Audemars.
Okay.
Piguet.
Audemars Piguet. AP.
Rolex.
Okay.
How's this?
One more? Alex, what do you think?
I don't know. I was gonna say Breitling, but I'm like, I don't know.
Okay, so well, you're all wrong. You got it right with Audemars Piguet. So Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe,
yeah,
and Vacheron Constantin.
Oh yeah, I heard of that one too.
Now most people don't know Vacheron Constantin, but those are the grandfather of watchmaking. That they set the standard for high horology. Okay, that is it. Everyone is trickled down from there. All right, all your Rolexes, your Breitlings, all this, they're down here, and those guys are up there. Now the independent watchmakers that they'll make like Philippe Dufour, but they will end up getting hired by Audemars Piguet to make like a crazy timepiece, and it'll take 10 years to make, and then Audemars will slap their name on it, and they won't really give the person credit. yeah. That's another thing. But anyways,
so question: where do Zeniths fall in with the whole?
Zenith will be the entry level, right? Like, okay, so I'm wearing right now, you can't see, but I'm wearing a Cartier.
Okay.
Now, funny enough.
Cartier,
yeah. This is a Cartier Santos, right? They make a different amount of, different kinds of Santos. This is a quartz movement, Santos. But Cartier worked with their supplier for quartz to make it where you don't have to change the battery for as long as you would have to service an automatic watch. So it's basically not bad, and it doesn't have a second hand, so you don't need an automatic if you don't even have a second hand. Like, what's the point if you're not gonna see it go like swoosh,
Yeah.
But anyways, this is the first mass produced. It's the first wristwatch ever to be put into mass production.
The Cartier watch?
Cartier did it first. Yes, people don't know that about it, but Cartier has been making solid watches forever, right? But still, this is now a serious watch, even though it's quartz. So don't get it confused. Just because it's not automatic doesn't mean it's not a serious watch.
Interesting.
But a Zenith or something like that would be down there with maybe a Seiko.
Really?
Yeah. Seiko is like a good bang for buck. Fossil is now complete entry level, right?
Fossil.
Jeez. Yeah. Because we're talking max 400 for their mechanical movements. So Fossil is like a brand. It's just got that nice feel. Everyone knows it. People respect it. Yep. But it's not...
Aesthetics are nice.
Yeah, but in the world of watchmakers, is it respected? No. It's kind of like no one would look down at you for wearing a Fossil, but they're not going to be like, oh my God, you're wearing a Fossil. You know what I mean?
Facts.
If you're wearing a Seiko, they'll be like, okay, you know what you're doing. There's room to grow, and that's a great starting watch.
When you compare Fossil and Seiko, do they categorize Seiko more superior than Fossil?
100%.
Why? But Seiko's been you can get like a Seiko watch anywhere. Well, like what's so good about it?
They just, again, it's bang for buck, but also it's associated a lot with Grand Seiko, and Grand Seiko is kind of like Lexus to Toyota. Grand Seiko is like one of the best watches you can get for the price. They make quality dials, which is like the face of the watch is, it's the dial. They make quality dials. They're beautiful. They work great. They create all kinds of new technologies, and watch collectors love them. They're not super easy to get. The problem with the Grand Seikos is they are a couple $1,000s. So it's not for everybody. Not everyone's gonna drop a couple bands on a watch, right? But I think, what got people interested in this whole watch thing is I made a video, Instagram reel, which was explaining how watches keep time. I was like, you probably asked yourself, you probably know how to keep time yourself.
Yeah.
But no one ever asks themselves how the watch keeps time. And so I explained how mechanical movements, which they don't have any battery, they don't have any electric parts, they have no circuitry, but they keep time mechanically, and how that works. And I put some illustrations up, and then people were like, damn, okay, I'm interested. Now I see why these things are expensive, right? They keep time worse than a quartz watch, but it's more the pursuit of perfection is what you're really getting into, buying into, thousands of dollars.
The more like, when you talk about like these mechanical quartz, there's like so many bars I've heard Jay-Z speak about when he's talking about like watches. He's like, I got Rollies that don't tick-tock, all the Mazdas losing time.
Yeah.
And I never got like, is he talking about like the mechanics of the watch?
Yes. See, mechanical watches lose time over a period of time. So it's like all these mechanical watches, you have to reset them and rewind them because they lose seconds every, it just depends on the quality, right? Maybe it might be they lose a couple seconds a day. So some lose, if they're not that good, couple seconds an hour. And you just have to keep rewinding them, resetting them. So the automatas, they'll be losing time. And people will use the watch winders to keep them wound. That's on an automatic watch. If it's self-winding, that means it winds itself from kinetic energy, just from you moving.
I have one of those watches. I have an Orient.
Yes, yeah.
And those are what I find was like the middle ground between.
It's respected.
Yeah, kind of respected, and it's still relatively affordable. So you can have a watch that doesn't tick-tock, literally. You know what I'm saying? That looks somewhat good.
But it probably loses mad time.
Hella time.
I
don't even use it for time at all.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is pointless. For
Yeah. But it's
time.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it feels good wearing.
You don't have to spend a crazy amount to appreciate the mechanics. Like,
So now, we are an entrepreneurship podcast. So if you want to get a watch that was entry level but still appreciates in value, what would you suggest?
Okay, yeah, now that's difficult, right? Probably, man, that's tough. Okay, so watches have been performing very well. This is the kind of question I would ask my friend who deals in watches in Miami. People sleep on Omega. Okay, people sleep on Omega. For some reason, they just has this tainted brand to it, but they do what Rolex does. They just had worse brand management, So, depending on the Omegas will always be cheaper, but you'll be able to get the same thing, and it might hold its value pretty well. Now, if you want to get a Rolex, the problem is to get any Rolex now, you're not spending under like 14 grand Canadian, right? Canadian. You'll be hard pressed to get a Rolex for under $14,000, which is ridiculous. Because this time last year it was 10,000, and the year before it was probably 8,000, right? But you're guaranteed whatever price you buy it at, you're still gonna make money off of it. Grand Seiko is probably a good bet.
Yeah, for wearing a watch, I want to understand like the psychology of wearing a watch and the perceived value of wearing a watch as a man, let's say, in a business setting. What does that communicate to other people about you as a business person? There's like a certain art of wearing a watch that's appreciated, and it really communicates a lot. So, walk us through that whole psychology and the perception of wearing a watch and what it communicates about you.
Well, what do you think when you see someone wearing just a watch in the first place?
Responsible.
Okay. They're watching their time.
They're watching their time.
Watch off, actually.
Class.
How about yourself?
This is a great question. It depends on the watch. If it's like a G-Shock, like an old G-Shock, I'm like, I kind of like, oh, you're mentally in 2005, 2000.
Yeah.
You know,
You were in the Goodwood. Remember the Goodwood? Like
Goodwoods.
the Goodwoods.
Yeah. Most definitely. So it depends on what the watch is. I think
It's like a car almost.
Exactly. So I think it communicates what you're into. You know, so if you're wearing like a bedazzled Rolex, then I'm like, all right, he's a flashy guy. You know, if it's like a plain Jane Rolex, then I'm like, all right, so he's probably looking at it as an investment. So there's multiple ways to look at it. So I feel like a watch is almost like a pair of sneakers where you kind of testifies to what the person's kind of into.
Yes. So for myself, I have my philosophy around watches is I wear watches with stories. I like the story behind the watch or the history behind the watch. And I also wear different shaped watches. I try to avoid, I have quite a few watches, but not most of them are not expensive. Mm-hmm. But they all have very cool stories behind how I got the watch, what it means or how it looks. So like for this one, of course, like I had mentioned, it's, it's a square watch, first of all, square body, square case. So it's automatically different. It's noticeable. It's very small. I like small watches. I like subtle watches, but it's eye-catching. Like you'll notice it because it's silver with blue straps and a silver dial. So for me, it's like on the look, it says elegance. It says put together, but it also says I know something you don't.
Yeah.
It's very obvious. But then for me, in my head, I'm wearing it because I like that it's untraditional in its shape. Mm-hmm. I like that it doesn't get in the way of me because I wear it on my left hand, but I'm left-handed. So I have to be able to write and stuff with the watch on.
Left hand on the best man.
Exactly. But I also think, well, it's got a cool story and it's a conversation starter. So when someone says nice watch, I don't say thanks. When someone says nice watch, I tell them something about the watch. And then that's usually how I start very interesting conversations. But also it's a who knows kind of watch. Only those in the know. All these guys, they come up to me like, is that Santos? And I'm like, yeah. And then they do this. They've almost 9 out of 10 times got a Rolex on.
Say word.
9 out of 10. Might be an AP.
See,
but now they're looking at me like I'm one of them.
Simba, so this is the thing I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
The ability to attract, like, you call them like high value people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They recognize real from afar. It's kind of like when
science.
Yeah. It's kind of like when women walk with a certain purse, other high class women know.
I know the women's purses and jewelry.
Yeah.
I know who's who.
Yeah.
And all these guys buying them that know too.
Yeah.
They know the Van Cleef necklace. They know the Cartier Love bracelet. They know the ring. They know the Bulgaria. Like you can, like, I'm telling you, I can look at a woman top down and tell you who's paying the bills. Income. What tax they paid last year? You know, like, whether they're vegan or not. You know,
I don't mind that. But
yeah, there's certain things, men, we need to get better at knowing these things because the boss knows some of it. Because just by being around it all the time, the client, high ticket client knows, and the women all know. Mm-hmm. They all know, even if they don't wear it, they know.
It depends what girl though. You know, like there's levels. Like I feel like American women know, and Canadian women know. But like if you're dating someone that's from outside the country, they don't know as much.
They know, but they know their thing. There's nowhere in the world where they don't know Gucci or Louis Vuitton they don't know Gucci, Louis Vuitton, or Louboutins.
Yeah, but they're gonna know what watch that is in terms of.
No, they won't know the watch. But if I wear a Cartier Love bracelet, all the girls know, and all the guys won't know.
It depends on which girls you're around. Like if you're around girls from Barbados, they ain't gonna know what watch that is, and they could be.
No, they won't know my watch, right? But I'm not wearing the watch for women.
Facts. Well, that was what we were just saying. You know what I'm saying? Like when we're around, so it's like depends on what circuit you're trying to enter.
Yes.
You're trying to enter like the luxury girl market, that girl that loves the material things.
Yeah.
Then that's what's gonna attract them.
But you can also tell. The thing is, when you can tell who's the materialistic one and who's not, because there's certain jewelry that only if you're already there you'll know. And if you're not, you won't know. So they say like one of my very wealthy friends, like their friend group, they only wear what the sugar babies aren't wearing. So they don't wear any of the common luxury items because it's seen as too flashy or too common.
They'll wear Cucinelli.
Yeah. They say like, oh no, these are for sugar babies.
Yeah.
We won't wear the Gucci. We'll wear Chanel. We won't have the Louboutin shoes. We'll wear something else. You know, even some will go as far as, if it's not a Birkin, I'm not putting it on. Wow. I'm not wearing it. And then some will even say, and this is another level, they'll be like, no, everyone has the Kelly. Everyone has the Birkin. I'm wearing Delvaux. Then you'd be like, what's Delvaux? Well, Delvaux doesn't even have the logo on it. Mm-hmm. You just know from the silhouette, this is a superior brand. Mm-hmm. But
it's like when you see the checkered of Burberry, it's like know that's Burberry's print.
You know that's Burberry, there. But you don't want Burberry all over your thing. And some people won't be caught dead wearing Burberry because they'll be like, that's the commonest brand.
Those are for the poor,
the peasants, man.
Those are for the chavs. They say like in the UK, right? Chavs wear Burberry.
Wow. Burberry, the chavs wear Burberry
because it's from the UK, so it's more common. They're like, if you go to where the brands are from, they usually are not taking it seriously.
Most definitely.
In Paris, they don't really be wearing,